All right, now we're going to continue on with the components part. We're going to talk about the general body of the bird. So in this case, we're going to talk about the neck, the back, the wings, the tail, the breast, the legs, and the vent as part of the body. And here is a picture of the parts of the wing, which we'll need to know later. So now let's talk about the neck. The neck of a chicken should be well arched in most cases. And also you want to talk about the feathers on the neck, especially in some of the colored breeds where the color is very important, but not so important here on the white breeds. And also lice and mites can also be seen on the neck as well, which you also want to note. Now going to the back. To show the back, you want to bring the bird forward in your hand, normally if you're using a Bantam breed, and then take your finger, your thumb and your index finger, and make an L. And you want to smoothly glide it down the back of the bird to show the width and the depth of the back. Also, lifting up the feathers, you want to note the undercolor of the bird, and also if there are any lice or mites. Also, color pattern is key on a colored bird, but not so much on the white bird or a one-colored bird, but you also want to note the color pattern changes on the back. And also, any disqualifications. The more prominent one seen is a roachback. Now, moving to the wings. To show the wings, you want to fold them out very nice and neat like this, so the whole wing can be exposed, so the judge can see all the feathers and any disqualifications or defects that might be in the wing. Also, you want to explain the parts of the wing, as was seen in that picture in the slide before, the wing bar, the wing bow, and the coverts. Also, the primary flight feathers are here, the intermediate feather or the axil feather, and then also the secondary feathers. And in these cases, you also want to count out the amount of primaries and secondaries that she may have, and note any broken feathers or missing feathers. Also, the condition of the feathers is key, as you do not want feathers that are broken or dirty. Some disqualifications that could be seen on the wings of the bird are split wing or twisted feather or slipped wing. Examples of these can be found in the American Standard Perfection for poultry. Now going to the tail. To show the tail, you basically, for a Bantam breed and also for a larger breed, is flick your wrist to expose the tail and to spread it out. When talking about the tail, you want to note the spread because you can see tails that are actually quite narrow. But as you can see, hers is quite full and well spread. You also want to note the conditions of the feathers and explain that to the judge. Also, there could be different color patterns with the tail, which you also want to note. Some disqualifications that could be seen on the tail could be a split tail, in which the tail splits in two. As in this case, you could have a squirrel tail, which is where the tail sits at a 90-degree angle, as where hers is normally set at a 35-degree angle, and a right tail. And this involves the tail leaning to one side. So even though if your chicken does have a disqualification, you want to note that in your presentation. Now we'd like to move to the breast. In order to do the breast, what we need to do is, for Bantam breed, is turn the bird over, put her back against your chest, use your free hand to grab the legs, pull those out of the way, and then use your other hand to act as a guide in talking about the breast and the components of the breast. So first, you want to run your fingers down the breastbone and show that the breastbone, or the keel bone in other terms, is straight and there's no crookedness, which would also be disqualification. You want to know the flesh condition and the muscle condition of the bird, because this is the part of the bird that has the most muscle. Also, you want to note any color pattern changes, which in this bird is white. And you also want to note any lice or mites that may be present within the breast or keel bone region. In larger birds, Many times the bird can just be held up against the body and the breast can be shown this way. This same position, though, is also the way to show the legs and the toes. To do this, basically just pull one of the feet out so the judge can see all the parts of the leg and the toes. Basically, you want to tell the legs, or the shanks in other terms, are straight, no broken bones. You also want to note the straightness of the toes and that she has all of her toes and toenails intact. Color is also important because many breeds will have a yellow color, a white, or a dull or dusky slaty color. You also want to note any scaly leg mites. These mites are small mites that burrow in under the scales of the legs and causing them to protrude outward. This condition actually causes extreme pain for the birds, and getting rid of them involves using Vaseline, which is basically just smothered on the shanks and the toes. Also, you want to note any disqualifications that can be seen with the legs and the shanks. A common disqualification will be a duck foot, in which the back toe comes up and meets the front toe. And also stance, if the bird has a wide stance or a narrow stance, can also be noted. But these generally aren't disqualifications, more of a slight defect. Another component of the legs and shanks that you might want to talk about, and it's hard to see in this bird, is the spur, which is a small protrusion from the inside part of the shank or the leg. In males, this is quite larger than the females. But the small things like that should be noted. And finally, when you're talking about the body of the bird, you want to talk about the vent. Basically, you want to talk about how the vent is clean and clear, and no signs of fecal matter on the feathers of the vent, and there's no lice or mites. The lice or mites primarily congregate around the vent, and the way to get rid of these mites is to just basically dust them with an insecticidal powder like carbaryl or malathion. Finally, some other information that could be addressed in your showmanship presentation could be, what do you feed your birds, or how do you take care of your birds? Many times, judges will actually ask, how do you take care of your bird? Do you give your birds treats, stuff like that? But items like that can also be put in your presentation. Also, in more advanced showmanships, many exhibitors will actually put the schedule of points for each part of the body in their birds. But as a novice showmanship, I would not recommend putting the schedule of points in your presentation. And finally, the conclusion. The conclusion pretty much sums up what you've talked about. And basically, all you do is ask the judge if they have any questions. A phrase which can be used to end your presentation would be, "This concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions?" But be ready for questions because the judge may or may not ask you questions. A lot of the times the questions pertain to what do you feed your bird? Some breed characteristics associated with the bird, different colors of the bird, items like that. So always be well studied up in your breed as well as other breeds. And again, the American Standard Perfection for Poultry is a great tool to help you learn more about different breeds and your breed as well.